Welcome to Night Night, Bedtime Stories by Black Men. I'm happy that you're here today. So, we have a special book and a special reader. The book that we have that we'll be reading today is called We Shall Overcome, and the reader is Terron Brooks. I believe that this book is actually really good for both adults and children, so please stay tuned for our reading. When we use our voice to demand freedom and equality, and couple that with action, the results can be powerful. In this book, it points out a most important leader. And I don't believe that there is a most important leader towards the march towards equality. But if there is an argument to be made for the most important leader, then the most important leader is the one who gets to work right there where they are in their everyday lives and is intolerant towards racism. I do believe that we are all connected. So please exercise what should be your right to vote. So without further ado, welcome Terron Brooks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Terron Brooks. I'm really excited to be able to read you this story tonight. It's a cool story. It's called We Shall Overcome, and it's the story of a song. So I'm going to do a little bit of singing of this real historical song, and if you catch on, maybe you can sing along with me if you want. But this is written by Debby Levy, and it's illustrated by Vanessa Brantley-Newton. We Shall Overcome. The story of a song. Back in slavery times, when enslaved people worked long days, with no pay and no say, no freedom, no fairness, no choice and no chance, the people sang. They suffered, yet they sang, to soothe the hurt, to fight the cruelty, to declare that yes, they were human beings. I'll be alright, I'll be alright, I'll be alright someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe I'll be alright someday. It took a war, the Civil War, to end slavery. But after, white people treated black people as less than fully human, excluding them, ignoring them, blaming them, even attacking them, all because of the color of their skin. Black people were no longer slaves, it was true, but they were not truly free. Still they believed things would get better. Still they sang. I'll overcome someday. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. It wasn't easy to believe. It wasn't easy when white people shut out African Americans from good jobs and good pay, schools and libraries and neighborhoods, restaurants and hotels and bathrooms, train cars and bus seats, playgrounds and parks. But black Americans, and some white Americans, did believe they would overcome the unfairness, hate, and violence. They started to protest. They brought a church song, I Will Overcome, to the streets. But since they were marching and working together, they sang, We will overcome. We together will overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we will overcome one day. From the streets, the song reached the ears of city people, country people, followers, and leaders. It reached Martin Luther King, the most important leader working for justice for African Americans. He took the song with him in his heart everywhere he traveled. The words changed a little, but the spirit stayed the same. We shall overcome, we shall overcome, We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. There were many forms of race hatred and many ways to fight it. Some students fought by sitting down in restaurants and asking to be served. They didn't ask for free food. They didn't want special service. They just wanted to buy a meal like any white person could. The students sat and sat, waiting for hamburgers, donuts, sodas that never came. The students sat and waited until they were arrested and they were taken away to jail. They still sang, "We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today." More and more people decided to stand up for rights for African Americans. One small group, the Freedom Singers, traveled 50,000 miles in 9 months to living rooms, concert halls, elementary schools, jails, high schools, and rallies, bringing "We Shall Overcome" to people in 40 states, inspiring them to believe that change was coming. The biggest gathering of people united in support of fairness for African Americans took place in the nation's capital, marching toward the Lincoln Memorial. Hundreds of thousands of people, black and white, young and old, joined hands, joined voices, and sang, "We walk hand in hand, we walk hand in hand, we walk hand in hand someday." Slowly, things were changing. Laws were passed, but race hatred stayed strong, even stronger than laws. So President Lyndon Johnson gave a speech. His ancestors once held slaves in Texas and Georgia. But President Johnson looked out on the millions of people watching him on television, spoke of equal rights, human rights, and voting rights for African Americans, and recited the words of the song, "We must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice, and we shall overcome." That's Lyndon Johnson in the TV, president. How could such a song stay in one country? It could not. "We Shall Overcome" sailed across the oceans and other countries where people faced injustice. It traveled to South Africa, where black Africans embraced it as their own freedom song in their own long struggle against an all-white government that treated them as outcasts in their own land. South Africa, Africa. The song traveled to India, East Germany, South Korea, Czechoslovakia, North Ireland, Bangladesh, China, the Middle East, South America, wherever people worked for a better life. We will live in peace. We will live in peace. We will live in peace someday. Even as it spread across the globe, the song never really left its American home. It took a very long time, but race hatred did grow weaker. Freedom grew stronger. President Lyndon Johnson was followed by another president, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and then the people of the United States, black and white and young and old, elected an African-American man to be their president. On that day, people sang that song that so many voices had sung before in pain and in protest. On that day, they sang in happiness, "Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday." Today, people still struggle against hatred and for freedom, against poverty and for fairness, against despair and for hope. We still sing. We sing to declare that yes, we are all human beings, deserving of respect, sharing the same planet and the same future together. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Good night. Sweet dreams, everybody. Thanks for letting me read to you.